Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into a massive strategic play unfolding right now in the pharmaceutical industry. We're going to unpack the anatomy of a major corporate move and see exactly how power shifts in the complex world of medicine.
So take a look at this headline from the Economic Times. BDR Pharmaceuticals eyes controlling stake in Acme Formulation. Now, at first glance, it might just look like your standard run-of-the-mill corporate alert, right? But this single sentence is actually an incredibly dense piece of evidence. It outlines a classic power move, telling us exactly who's making the play, who they're targeting, and just how aggressive they plan to be.
To really get to the bottom of this, we're going to treat this headline almost like an investigative decoder ring. We can break it down into three core pillars: the acquirer, the target, and the action. Filtering the news through this framework is going to help us understand exactly what is happening behind those closed boardroom doors, why billions of dollars are moving across the table, and how these decisions ultimately shape the entire industry.
Part 1. Let's meet the corporate players.
Here's the overarching power dynamic we're dealing with. On one side, we have BDR Pharmaceuticals. They are the active entity, the ones initiating the move. On the other side sits Acme Formulation, positioned squarely as the strategic prize. It's essentially a high-stakes chess match, and BDR has just made its opening move.
Let's zoom in on the acquirer's motivations for a second. As the active player, BDR is going on the offensive here to leapfrog their growth timeline. In the pharma space, navigating regulatory red tape and building specialized manufacturing lines totally from scratch, that is a massive drain on both time and capital. It's just so much more efficient to seek out and aggressively absorb high-value pre-existing industry assets.
And then, conversely, we have Acme Formulation finding themselves squarely in the crosshairs. Why? Well, they're a prime target precisely because they've already done all that heavy lifting. They've built the specialized formulation capabilities, they have the localized manufacturing footprint that BDR clearly wants to bring under its own corporate umbrella. Because they hold these ready-made assets, Acme is now facing the very real possibility of a total shift in corporate direction.
Which brings us to part 2, defining a controlling stake. You see, BDR isn't just looking for a friendly joint venture or some minor financial investment. No, they are pursuing a controlling stake. This means they want absolute unilateral power over Acme's strategic and operational future. They don't want to just ride in the passenger seat and share the profits. They want to own the vehicle and steer it wherever they see fit.
The math of corporate dominance is honestly pretty ruthless. The very second BDR crosses that 51% threshold, the remaining 49% of shareholders become effectively powerless to stop them. Seriously, even if nearly half the company fiercely disagrees with a major strategic pivot, it doesn't matter. Legally speaking, the entity holding that 51% slice wins every single boardroom vote.
By targeting this specific level of ownership, BDR is signaling a highly aggressive maneuver. Make no mistake, this isn't about collaboration, it is about complete integration. They want to dictate Acme's proprietary formulations, their internal resources, their talent pool, and their overall market trajectory. In this arena, ownership literally equals total strategic power.
All right, let's move on to part 3, the M&A machine explained.
What we are really looking at here is the underlying machinery of the pharmaceutical sector: mergers and acquisitions. M&A is this massive ecosystem where huge entities routinely consume smaller ones just to survive, adapt, and secure specialized tech. It is quite literally corporate evolution happening in real time, dictating which firms get to scale up and which ones just get swallowed whole.
Every deal like this follows a pretty tactical timeline. It starts with step 1, spotting, or eyeing the target. Then it moves into step 2, which is the brutal negotiation and structuring of the stake by armies of corporate lawyers. And finally, step 3, the actual acquisition, the definitive transfer of control.
According to the headlines, BDR is firmly in step 1 right now. They are eyeing the target. But here's the thing about this industry. A public eyeing is rarely an accident. It's usually a very deliberate signal sent to the market. It tests the waters, evaluates how competitors are going to react, and puts Acme on notice well before the heavy, closed-door negotiations of Step 2 even begin.
Part 4. Why this move actually matters.
It all comes down to the ripple effects. When one pharma company takes a controlling stake in another, it triggers a massive chain reaction across the entire industry. It accelerates corporate consolidation, it shifts market dominance, and it causes a huge realignment of strategic resources.
Suddenly you have research teams merging, supply chains rerouting, and the priorities for what drugs actually get manufactured can change literally overnight based on the new parent company's goals.
What we're watching in real time with this BDR and Acme situation is the market potentially shifting from a fragmented state toward a highly consolidated one. In a fragmented market, you've got lots of independent competitors fighting for their space. But through targeted acquisitions like this one, the market consolidates. That leaves fewer, massive entities holding all the cards, controlling way more of the supply chain and wielding immense pricing and production power.
So a controlling stake isn't just a simple transfer of money from one bank account to another. It is a fundamental shift in the architecture of the pharmaceutical industry itself. It dictates which companies have the scale to push new boundaries and which companies are simply absorbed into the machinery of larger giants.
As BDR continues to eye its prize and makes its way through the M&A playbook, it leaves us with a vital question to ponder. Behind all these billions of dollars in closed-door boardroom negotiations, how will ongoing corporate consolidation in the pharma sector ultimately impact the development, availability, and cost of the medicines that you and I rely on every single day? It's a structural shift that eventually touches all of us. Just something to think about the next time you pick up a prescription. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I hope this really helped decode the massive moves happening behind the headlines.